It feels almost impossible to believe that just a few years ago, The Chosen was an experiment, an ambitious attempt to tell the story of Jesus through a show funded entirely by its viewers. No studios, no big networks, just people who believed in the message. And now, Season 5 premiered in nearly 2,500 theaters and made over $11.5 million in one weekend alone. It landed at number 3 at the US box office, right up there with massive Hollywood blockbusters. That kind of leap doesn't happen by accident. It's the result of a movement of faith storytelling and community that refuses to be ignored. Back in Season 3, we saw the first 2 episodes hit theaters and earn $8.8 million, was a huge milestone at the time. Then came Season 4 and everything changed. With 3 episodes launching together, the show pulled in almost $15 million worldwide, and the momentum just kept building. So when Season 5 arrived, there was already a storm brewing, a storm that turned into a wave, one that no one could stop. This isn't just a Christian success story. This is an entertainment industry success story. Studios are watching, theaters are watching, everyone is watching. Because what The Chosen has proven is simple but revolutionary. If you put your heart into a story that truly matters, people will show up. Not because they're being sold something flashy, but because they're being invited into something real. Season 5 is proof of that. And the numbers don't lie. Right now, the series has brought in $82 million total at the box office, making it not just the most successful Christian show, but the most successful faith-based project ever released. And it's not even over yet. But what's even more incredible is who is watching. This isn't just for Christians anymore. Something shifted. There's a deeper hunger here, a desire to understand the story behind the man called Jesus, a need to feel something in a world that often feels numb, and that's what Season 5 taps into. Because while earlier seasons introduced us to the characters and built their world, this season drops us into the fire, into Holy Week, into the betrayal, into the sorrow, into the confusion. And people can't look away, whether they believe or not. Dallas Jenkins, the creator of the show, said it best in a recent interview. This is about asking the hard questions. Can you trust? Can you follow when you don't understand? Even I struggle with those questions. And that vulnerability, that honesty is exactly why this season feels so alive. It's not sugar-coated, it's not simple, it's complicated, raw, and painfully human. And that's why it works. That's why it's breaking records. Because it doesn't just tell the story of Jesus, it pulls you into it and asks you to feel every moment. Think about it. How many shows or movies, especially faith-based ones, have ever created this kind of cultural conversation? How many have drawn in both believers and skeptics alike and made them cry over the same scenes, ask the same questions, and walk away with their hearts wrecked? That's what The Chosen is doing. And Season 5 is where it all comes to a head. But the most stunning part of all this? We're only halfway through the season. Only 4 episodes are out. Which means the most intense moments, the arrest, the crucifixion, the heartbreak, and the hope, are still coming. And if the beginning of this season hit you hard, then brace yourself. Because the next wave might just break you. There's something happening behind the scenes right now. Something Hollywood never expected. For decades, the big studios controlled the game. If you wanted to make a show, you needed a green light. If you wanted to reach theaters, you needed a deal. And if you wanted to matter, you had to play by their rules. But The Chosen just burned the rulebook. It broke every single industry norm. And now the entertainment giants are starting to panic. Because they're realizing that the power isn't in the studios anymore, it's in the people. Let's be clear, The Chosen is a revolution. It's the first ever multi-season show about the life of Jesus, and it's being made completely outside the Hollywood system. That alone is unheard of. But what makes it even more threatening to the industry is that it's working. It's not just succeeding, it's winning. It's building a global audience, selling out theaters, trending on social media, and drawing real emotional responses from viewers who feel like they've finally been seen. And all of this without compromise. No studio mandates, no watered-down message, just a pure vision and a team that refused to back down. Dallas Jenkins didn't wait for permission. He built this series with nothing but faith and a camera trusting that if the story was honest and powerful, people would show up, and they did. By the millions. That's not just a feel-good story. That's a threat to the entire entertainment model. Because now more creators are asking, do we really need a studio to reach the world? And the answer is becoming clearer with every box office milestone. No, we don't. In fact, Hollywood is already trying to catch up. We're seeing more faith-based movies rushed into production, more studios throwing money at Christian-themed projects hoping to replicate the success of The Chosen. But here's the truth, they're missing the point. The Chosen didn't succeed because it was religious. It succeeded because it was real. It didn't talk at people. It invited them in. It didn't try to impress. It tried to connect. And that kind of storytelling can't be faked. That's why even actors and producers in Hollywood are starting to take notice. Jonathan Roumie, who plays Jesus, has become a breakout star. But what's more remarkable than his rising fame is how grounded he remains. He's not chasing the spotlight, he's using it. In interviews, he's shared how deeply the role has affected him personally. He's talked about the weight of portraying Jesus honestly and the spiritual battles that come with that responsibility. This isn't just a job for him, it's a calling. And fans feel that. That's why his scenes hit so hard, because the man behind the robe believes in what he's doing, and he's not the only one. The entire cast brings something rare to the screen: vulnerability. You can see it in their eyes. You can feel it in every line. These aren't actors playing roles. They're people embodying truth. Mary Magdalene's pain, Matthew's questions, Simon Peter's rage and doubt. These moments aren't staged, they're lived. And that's what's changing people. It's why people are showing up in droves, not just to watch, but to feel something, to wrestle with doubt, to cry over betrayal, to rediscover hope. The Chosen doesn't just entertain, it heals. And Hollywood doesn't know how to compete with that. Because for decades, they've focused on spectacle, big explosions, flashy effects, noise. But The Chosen strips all that away. No superheroes, no CGI, just faith, fear, love, and loss. And somehow, it's more powerful than anything on Netflix or Disney+. And here's where it gets even more unbelievable. The Chosen is doing all of this while giving the episodes away for free. That's right, you can watch the entire series without paying a dime, and yet people are still buying tickets, still donating, still showing up. Why? Because they want to, because they believe in it, because they feel like they're part of something greater. That's what Hollywood doesn't understand. This isn't a fandom, it's a movement. It's not just about the story on screen, it's about the story behind it. The story of people coming together to make something beautiful, of faith surviving in an industry that often tries to silence it, of light breaking through the noise. So yes, Hollywood is watching, but they're not in control anymore. The Chosen has proven that the future belongs to storytellers who are brave enough to believe, to stand firm in their vision, to speak truth even when it hurts. And in doing so, they've built something no studio could ever replicate, a community united not by content, but by conviction. Everything has been building to this. From the moment Jesus stepped into Galilee and called the first disciples, we knew where this story would lead. We knew the cross was coming, but knowing it doesn't make it easier. The Chosen Season 5 is heading straight into the most heartbreaking moment in human history, the arrest trial and crucifixion of Jesus Christ. And even though we've heard this story 100 times, something about seeing it unfold in this series is different. It's not distant. It's not a painting or a sermon or a symbol. It's real, it's raw, it's emotional. This is not a reenactment. It's a relationship falling apart in front of our eyes. It's the sound of betrayal. It's the silence of fear. It's the weight of sin. And as the episodes unfold, one thing becomes brutally clear: we are not ready for what's coming. Because this isn't just about Jesus. This is about Peter, Mary, Matthew, Judas. It's about what happens to faith when everything breaks. The disciples have followed Jesus for years. They've left everything: homes, families, comfort, safety. They've watched him heal the blind, raise the dead, silence storms, and forgive the unforgivable. They've seen the power of God with their own eyes. And yet when the soldiers come, when the crowd turns, when the night grows cold and dark, they run. They hide, they fall apart. And it's devastating to watch because it's exactly what we do. We want to believe we'd be bold, that we'd stand with him no matter what. But the chosen forces us to look in the mirror, to ask the hard question. What happens to our faith when God doesn't stop the pain? Judas is the most terrifying part of that answer, because Season 5 is finally showing us the full weight of his betrayal, not as a cartoon villain or a greedy traitor, but as someone we loved, someone Jesus loved. And that's what hurts the most. The Chosen has spent seasons making us care about Judas, showing his insecurities, his need to belong, his desire to prove himself. We saw glimpses of doubt, of ambition, but we also saw loyalty, tenderness, real connection. And that's what makes his fall so heartbreaking. It's not a twist, it's a tragedy. It's the slow unraveling of a man who wanted the kingdom but couldn't accept the cross. A man who kissed Jesus not with hatred but with confusion. And now as the noose tightens, literally and spiritually, we're left wondering if someone like Judas could fall. What hope do any of us have? But even in the heartbreak, there's beauty, because the Chosen never lets the darkness have the final word. Even as Jesus is arrested, he's in control. Even as the Sanhedrin lies and the Romans mock, Jesus remains calm, not out of weakness but purpose. Every step he takes is deliberate. Every silence is loaded with power. He chooses the cross, not because he has to, but because of us. And it's in that surrender, that crushing pain, that the true meaning of love is revealed. This isn't a hero saving the day with a sword. This is a savior laying down his life when no one deserves it. And the closer we get to Golgotha, the more unbearable it becomes, because we're the reason he's going. The cast has already said that filming these scenes has changed them forever. Jonathan Roumie admitted that carrying the cross, even as an actor, was emotionally and spiritually exhausting. The crew was silent. Some were weeping because it didn't feel like fiction. It felt like a holy moment, like time paused, like they were standing on sacred ground. And that's exactly what The Chosen gives us as viewers. Not entertainment, not drama, but a wholly gut-wrenching glimpse into the moment the world was saved and didn't even know it. And what about Peter? How do you even begin to recover after denying the man you called Lord? Not once, but 3 times. Peter's arc in Season 5 is going to destroy us. He's the rock, the leader, the bold one, the one who swore he'd never walk away. But when it mattered most, he ran. And what makes it worse is that Jesus knew. He told him. And still, Peter failed. That moment of eye contact between Jesus and Peter after the denial, it's going to be one of the most devastating moments in the series. Because we've all been there. We've all made promises in the light and broken them in the dark. And yet we know what's coming later. The redemption, the restoration. The moment on the beach when Jesus asks, "Do you love me?" But first we have to sit in the silence, in the shame, in the tears. And The Chosen will make us feel every second of it. As for Mary, the pain is unbearable. She who followed him, who believed from the beginning, who called him Rabbi and Lord, will now watch her son die. Not as a victim, but as a sacrifice. And it will shatter her. We already know how Dallas Jenkins treats her story, with reverence and realism. She is not just the Virgin Mother. She's a grieving woman whose heart is about to be pierced. And we will feel every heartbeat of her sorrow as she stands at the foot of the cross, powerless to stop the nails, the blood, the agony. This is not just another season of television. This is sacred. This is the moment history changed, the moment the world turned upside down. And The Chosen is preparing us, slowly, painfully, to witness it, to feel it, to carry it, because the crucifixion isn't just something Jesus went through. It's something we're meant to remember, to weep over, to honor, and most of all, to believe in. Because what comes next is the resurrection. But we can't skip ahead. We have to go through the pain, the betrayal, the death, because only then can the light break through, just when it feels like all hope is gone. When the tomb is sealed, when the world has gone silent, when darkness seems to have won, The Chosen will take us to the moment that changed everything. the resurrection. But don't expect fireworks. Don't expect a dramatic burst of music or a glowing halo in the sky. Because the way The Chosen tells this story is exactly how it should be. Quiet, intimate, breathtaking in its simplicity. A stone rolled away, grave clothes folded, a voice calling a name. It won't be about spectacle. It'll be about shock, about wonder, about how something so impossible could be true. Because no one expected it. Not the guards, not the Pharisees, and certainly not the disciples. They were hiding, broken, confused, lost. And yet, on the third day, everything they believed was dead stood up and walked out of the grave. That moment is going to be unlike anything we've seen in the series so far, and not just because of the visual impact, but because of what it means. Jesus didn't just come back to life, he defeated death itself. He shattered the curse that had haunted humanity since Eden. And The Chosen will show that in the most personal, human way possible. Not through lectures or theology, but through the eyes of the people who saw him alive. Imagine Mary Magdalene, weeping outside the tomb, thinking her world has ended, until she hears her name. Mary. Just one word. And suddenly, everything changes. The tears don't stop, but now they're tears of joy, of disbelief, of overwhelming love. That's what The Chosen does best. It takes the supernatural and makes it deeply personal. And what about Thomas, the one who doubts, who needs to touch the wounds to believe? He's not a cynic. He's just wounded. He watched the one he loved die. He doesn't want false hope. And when Jesus appears to him, when he finally touches the scars, he doesn't give a theological speech. He just whispers, "My Lord and my God." That scene will break us, because we've all been Thomas. We've all asked for proof. And The Chosen isn't here to condemn doubt. It's here to show that Jesus meets us in it, with love, with patience, with scars still visible. Then there's Peter. Can you even imagine the weight he's carrying? The shame of denying Jesus, the horror of watching him die. And now, the confusion of hearing he's alive. And then, one morning on a beach, Jesus looks him in the eyes again, not with anger, not with disappointment, but with mercy. "Do you love me?" He asks it 3 times, not to shame him, but to restore him. That moment will be one of the most powerful in the entire series, because it's not just Peter being forgiven, it's us. It's every failure we've ever made being washed away by grace. It's every broken promise being mended by love. The Chosen doesn't just tell you the resurrection happened. It makes you feel what it means. And the transformation doesn't stop there. These same disciples, once terrified and scattered, become bold, fearless, unstoppable. And it's not because they had a new strategy. It's because they saw him alive. And it changed them forever. That's the story Season 6 will begin to tell. Not just the risen Jesus, but the risen church. A group of flawed, frightened men and women who now have a mission, who now know the truth, that death isn't the end, that love really did win, that the kingdom of God is not a theory, it's here. And they will give their lives to tell that story, even if it costs them everything. But before that mission begins, there's something deeply human that The Chosen will show us. Those first few days after the resurrection, the confusion, the joy, the meals shared in secret, the disbelief slowly turning into faith, the moment when Jesus appears in the middle of the room and simply says, "Peace be with you." That peace is what the world is still searching for. And The Chosen doesn't treat it as an abstract idea. It shows us the risen Christ walking, eating, laughing, embracing his friends, alive. And in that resurrection, we don't just find history, we find hope. Because if the grave couldn't hold him, then nothing can separate us from his love, and that is what makes The Chosen so powerful. It doesn't just retell the resurrection, it invites you into it. It shows you that this story is not over, that Jesus is not a character. He's alive, now, still calling people by name, still meeting them in doubt, in failure, in fear, still healing, still saving. And as the series moves forward, we're going to see the world flipped upside down. Because when Jesus walked out of that tomb, history was rewritten. Death was defanged, sin was defeated, and the kingdom began with a whisper, with a scarred hand, with a risen Savior saying, "Follow me."